Castro.
Good morning, everyone. Tragedy has struck Texas. Horrific and devastating floods have killed more than 100 people in the great state of Texas. Dozens of children have drowned to death. Parents are going to have to bury their children, which is unnatural, and parents should never have to do that. Real questions need to be asked and answered about the impact of the underfunding of the National Weather Service, the firing of hundreds of employees, the apparent absence of preparation as it related to what the Texas state government failed to do in terms of implementing an early warning system to alert people in the Texas Hill Country as to the impending danger. There are a lot of questions that need to be resolved on behalf of the people of Texas. There is an ongoing search and rescue operation, and lives have been turned upside down as it relates to the historic and devastating floods in the Texas Hill Country. But instead of addressing the serious crisis that has affected tens of thousands of lives in unthinkable ways, Donald Trump, House Republicans here in Washington, and Governor Abbott are conspiring to rig the Texas congressional map as part of an effort to disenfranchise millions of people in Texas. In this country, public servants should earn the votes of the people that they hope to represent. What Republicans are trying to do in Texas is to have politicians choose their voters and undermine free and fair elections. And on behalf of the people of the state of Texas, Democrats are going to push back aggressively because it's the right thing to do to make sure that the voices of the people of Texas and those voices alone will choose during this critically important time here in the United States of America who should represent them, who will stand up for their interests, who will protect their health care, who will make sure that we can lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. Those choices should be made by the voters in Texas alone, not Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, Governor Abbott, or MAGA extremists who want to manipulate the election, which will have an adverse impact on the quality of life of the people of Texas. We are unified. I'm thankful for the leadership of the members of the Texas delegation who are fighting on behalf of their constituents and every single resident in the great state of Texas. All of us should be focused on rescue, relief, and rebuilding, not egregious redistricting of the Texas congressional map as part of an effort to undermine free and fair elections in Texas and in the United States of America. It's my honor to yield to the Democratic Whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader. And I am so proud to stand here with the Democrats from Texas. The cries for help have not stopped echoing in Hill Country in Texas. And yet here we are. It is as if the Texas GOP and the White House are saying it's always the right time to do what's wrong. When people are devastated, We need to be looking on how we can improve our warnings of floods in places like the Hill Country in Texas. When we need to be looking at how we are funding NOAA and our weather alerts as we go into hurricane season around this country, as we need to be able to help continue to search for the over 100 people that are missing as more rain is coming down on these affected areas. This is what they propose to do. While those cries of help are still echoing, they want to further suppress the voices of Texans by saying we are going to call an emergency session to take away your vote, to take away your voice. That is something that not only are Democrats going to stand in opposition to, but Americans are going to stand in opposition to. We are all here to say that we will continue to be unified, to fight for the American people, to fight to bring down their high cost of living, to fight for them to have the security of their families when disaster strikes, to know that their government will be here with a response, and to fight for their right to vote. This is a voter suppression effort. This is an effort to take away voices when Texans need the help of their fellow Americans to see them and be there to support them. And I am so grateful to be joined in this fight by the chairwoman of the DCCC, Susan DelBene.
Thanks and good morning. Thank you, Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark. As the leader already shared, we just had a productive meeting with the Texas delegation about the desperate, and it is desperate, plot by House Republicans and Donald Trump to try to rig the next year's midterms by redrawing the Texas map. It's painfully clear why Republicans are doing this. They know they are going to lose the majority next year. Republicans are running scared. They're scared because the American people are poised to reject them and their broken promises, many, many broken promises in the midterms. Look at what they've done just in the last 7 months. Prices are rising, businesses and farms are struggling amidst tariff uncertainty, and rather than doing anything about it, House Republicans put their party over the American people and voted for the big, ugly bill. Now nearly 17 million people will lose their health care. Millions of families and children will have food ripped from their kitchen tables, and energy bills will go up, all to pay for massive tax giveaways to the wealthiest few. We've seen in poll after poll that the more people learn about the big ugly bill, the more they hate it. Republicans vote for it will be the defining issue of the midterms. And the DCCC will make sure that the American people will hold Republicans accountable for this harmful, cruel bill when it's time for them to cast their ballots. That's all to say Republicans know they can't win running on their failed agenda, so they've hatched a scheme to rig the Texas map to try to save their microscopic majority. But as the leader said before, Republicans should be careful what they wish for. In an environment where Democrats are consistently overperforming in special elections across the country, and with public opinion turning against the Republican trifecta, redrawing the Texas map is a dangerous proposition for House Republicans and their incumbents. For some historical context here, let's look at what happened in Texas the last time there was a Trump midterm election. In competitive seats in Texas, Democratic House candidates performed an average of 7% better in 2018 than they did in 2016. We're confident that we are on the same, if not greater, trajectory as more people sour on the Republican record of broken promises. So any new map that Texas Republicans draw will almost certainly increase the number of competitive districts, thereby endangering more Republican incumbents. It's basic math. For them to try to break up Democratic-held districts, they will have to weaken Republican districts, who already are facing political headwinds. This scheme to rig the maps is hardly going to shore up their majority. It's going to expand the battleground in the race for the majority. Make no mistake, the DCCC will recruit aggressively to unseat any and all newly vulnerable Texas Republicans that go along with this corrupt ploy. Now, I want to continue to highlight that we have shown we can compete and win in districts like this. That's why we have 14 Democrats who are in seats that Trump won last year. Since the start of the cycle, the DCCC has been on offense. We have the better message, stronger candidates, and public sentiment is on our side. So my message to Texas Republicans who are pursuing this desperate scheme, you've already lost the majority, and now you're risking your own job. Now I want to turn it over to one of our great leaders from the state of Texas, Lizzie Fletcher.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Del Bene. Good morning. I am proud to serve as the chair of the Texas Democratic Delegation in the 119th Congress and to serve with these leaders and the Texas Democrats that are all standing here today. The members gathered here represent people from all across Texas, from Houston and Southeast Texas to El Paso, from the Rio Grande Valley to North Texas, and we are gathered today to speak on behalf of our constituents, on behalf of all Texans who are in, as the leader noted, a moment of great need all across our state, who are being disenfranchised and dismissed. Governor Abbott and Texas Republicans have utterly collapsed to pressure from President Trump, and they have surrendered Texas to political operatives from Washington, D.C., trading and dividing their constituents like commodities. They are prioritizing helping out-of-state political operatives abuse the voting rights and distort the political will of Texans so that national Republicans can try to hold on to their majority, their slim majority, their disappearing majority in the United States House of Representatives. That is what this is. This effort is not about any one member or any one district. It is an attack on the citizens of Texas, the voters of Texas, and their right and their ability to vote for candidates and elect candidates of their choosing and have representation in Washington. This effort threatens the very principle that people deserve to have a say in our government. I thank Leader Jeffries and Chairwoman Del Bene and Whip Clark for their commitment to the people of Texas and to championing our right to make our voices heard, to cast our ballots, and to have our communities represented when our state leaders have failed us and are failing us. It's not just about Texas, but Texas is a cautionary tale of what's to come when an out-of-control president and an administration demand loyalty to them rather than the people and places that Republicans are elected to represent and whom they have sworn to represent. So together with support from the House Democratic leadership, we will fight this redistricting effort in every way we can. We will fight it in the halls of Congress, and I want to thank our colleague, Mark Vesey, for leading us all in new legislation to ban this kind of mid-decade redistricting. We will fight this in the courts as we can, and we will fight it in our communities and communities across Texas. As we've heard here today, House Democrats and the DCCC are committed to Texas, and we know they will be with us in the fight from now to next November and beyond. This fight is about more than the midterms, more than this map. It is about making real the founding principle of our country, that we, the people, not just the privileged few, but all of the people, have the right and the ability to have a say in our government. And so I'm glad to be here in the fight with these people, all of the people you see up here today, all of this amazing Texas Democratic delegation, our House Democratic leadership, and I'm so glad to be in this fight with all of them, including the Dean of our delegation, Lloyd Doggett, who we'll hear from next.
Thank you, Lizzie. I appreciate, and I know you do, the acknowledgement of our leaders to the terrible loss we suffered in Texas. Last Sunday, I attended a prayer service outside the elementary school that my own daughters attended. 2 little 8-year-old girls from that school lost in Kirk County, 2 others in other parts of Austin. There are tears flowing all over our state about this. Last Friday, I met personally with the director of the National Weather Service. There is no doubt there were failures at every level of government, the county, the state of Texas, the federal government. And what this special session should be about is doing something to correct those failures. Redistricting, this scheme, is an act of desperation. A desperate president is doing whatever it takes to cling to power. Make no mistake, there will not be a Texas map. There is a Trump map, which we heard reportedly just a few minutes ago this morning. Trump called the Texas Republican delegation and told them he wants 5 Republicans more out of Texas. They are simply too weak, too scared to stand up to Trump, as are the Texas Republican legislators. They're each afraid of a mean tweet that could ruin their day. Extreme redistricting is only the first of many steps that Trump will take to interfere in the next midterm elections. This redistricting power grab is the latest attempt to rewrite the rules to ensure that there are no rules, no limits, no guardrails on Trump's act of power. Republicans aren't concerned about what's best for Texas communities, about keeping communities of interest together, or what will assure the most accessible and accountable representation for communities all over our state. The sole concern is what's best for Trump to fulfill his demands. The fix is on. And the absurdity of the justification for this redistricting is that a Republican-controlled legislature led by President Trump's campaign manager in the Senate, signed by his loyal follower, Governor Abbott, that Republican redistricting plan discriminated against white people in Texas. Not a big problem that we've ever had down there in my lifetime, but we will rely on the Texas legislators to determine the best tactics to use to combat this plan. I won't be asking them to protect my seat, nor should any member of this delegation. What we will be doing is asking them to protect democracy, because that's what's at stake. Whether as we reach 250 years of American democracy, we will trade it for autocracy in the form of Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Catherine and Susan, for your great leadership. And let me thank the entire Texas congressional delegation. Questions?
Was it a mistake for blue states to have handed over some of their redistricting power to independent commissions?
We're focused right now on this aggressive and egregious gerrymander that will undermine the ability of Texans to participate in a free and fair election and determine who will represent them in the United States Congress.
Should New York or California open up their lines in response to this?
Same response.
Are you concerned about an emerging red state versus blue state, tit versus tat, redistricting theme coming out of this and what that means for democracy, big picture?
As has been indicated, democracy is under assault in a way that will impact the quality of life of the people of Texas and beyond. Who's in office matters. This is a desperate attempt by Republicans who are running scared based on the fact they have an unpopular president, an unpopular one big ugly bill, and an unpopular agenda that has ripped health care away from millions of Americans, stealing food from hungry children, veterans, and seniors. And all of this is being done in order to reward billionaires with massive tax breaks. This agenda has done nothing by Republicans to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. Costs aren't going down, inflation is going up, and the quality of life of the American people is getting worse. Republicans have chosen to respond to this by trying to gerrymander and rig the Texas congressional map and the midterm elections. It's important to remember, as Susan indicated, there has been tremendous overperformance in midterm elections by Democrats when we found ourselves in that situation before. Donald Trump has ordered Texas Republicans to try to produce 5 additional seats. I have no expectation that they're going to show any political courage. Texas Republicans are likely going to continue to act like political punks and bend the knee to Donald Trump's extreme agenda. In doing so, they will jeopardize their own electoral careers. And that is the case as it relates to Texas congressional Republicans and members of the Texas legislature who may vote for an egregious and gerrymandered new congressional map.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. When Democrats were less than the majority, you all advanced legislation that would end extreme partisan gerrymandering. If Democrats retake the House, will that be a top priority for Democrats to again try to advance legislation to end gerrymandering and somehow work with Democrats to try to make progress on this issue?
One of our top priorities, and I'll yield to Catherine and Susan on this, but one of our top priorities will continue to be to end extreme partisan gerrymandering across the country. We can no longer have a patchwork of different states holding themselves to different standards, and some, like Texas and Florida, no standards at all, as part of a desperate effort to cling to power. And so, as part of our reform agenda, an effort to combat and clean up corruption in this town, House Democrats will strongly champion the effort to end extreme partisan gerrymandering in the United States of America. Catherine, Susan.
Making sure that the people of this country have the power at the ballot box is going to remain a top priority. And what we are seeing from this Republican Party and from Donald Trump is a complete reversal of that, doing just the opposite. And it starts with their signature legislation, taking away health care from people, 17 million Americans, making sure that they are taking away and underfunding food programs from 42 million Americans, $500 billion out of Medicare, and undermining our public schools and veterans benefits, all to benefit the very, very wealthy. Democrats have a very different vision of who government should work for, and that should be the American people and the issues that they care about, and helping them reach that first rung of the American dream. So we are going to be focused on making sure that that right to vote remains strong in this country, because it is where economic power flows from. And that economic power, this system, should reside with the hard-working people of this country. And the Republicans just have a very different vision. It's win at all costs. And they know that we would be in the majority today if North Carolina hadn't egregiously redistricted and eliminated 3 Democratic seats. And that's why we are so focused on the people of Texas and making sure that their voices are heard at the ballot box.
This was an order from Donald Trump. You didn't hear the people of Texas saying, please redraw the maps, wanting to see big change, especially right now. What you're seeing is Republicans scared that they're going to lose the majority. They know that people don't agree with their agenda. People are feeling the pain of what's happened under this administration, and they're going to lose the majority because of that. And so their only way, as opposed to stand up and listen to people and fight for the issues that they're hearing from their constituents, if they actually did town halls and listened to their constituents, they would hear that. Instead of doing that, their effort is to try to rig the system to change these maps based on the order from Donald Trump. And so I think it's very, very clear that this isn't what the people want. People want representatives who are going to listen to them. We are going to fight in every single district based on this, whatever, if they change the map, based on whatever map they do. We know there are going to be competitive districts. We're going to recruit great candidates. People are going to stand up for their communities. We're going to take back the majority.
Last two questions here.
This question is for Congresswoman Crockett. You served in the legislature. Can you talk about what your prediction would be for this moment? What do you think is about to happen if they gerrymander? Can you talk on that? Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, it hasn't quite been said clearly that Texas has always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. And so I want y'all to understand the makeup of my state. The state is a majority minority state. And what this legislature historically has done is what they plan to do again, is to dilute the voices of people of color in order to make sure that they can get to where they're trying to go. We saw this Department of Justice decided to put out a letter, and what did they do? We only have 4 seats that are represented by Black folk, where the vast majority of the people that get to decide who they have represent them are Black. They decided to attack 3 of the 4 seats that we have in the state. They decided to go after a Latina. They are specifically deciding to splinter the communities of common interest, as well as just blatantly say, we are going to dilute minority voices. So we know that the courts, ever since we've had a Voting Rights Act, have always found this state to be intentionally discriminatory. That is what they are going to do. So I need people of color to understand that the scheme of the Republicans has consistently been to make sure that they mute our voices so that they can go ahead and have an oversized say in this. So I fully anticipate that's exactly where they're going with this map. It's the only way to do it. We didn't understand how we got to the map that they gave us last time because that state was grown by 95% people of color. They went out of their way to make sure that we got 0 new seats for people of color. So that's exactly what they're going to do this time.
There's ongoing litigation right now that challenges the constitutionality of the current map and the legality of the current map as it relates to the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and all of our legal options will continue to be on the table. Excuse me. Last question.
If Republicans are writing their own rules and playing by their own rules, should Democrats not then be willing to play the same rules and have in the states that you do control the legislature and the maps to be attempting the same tactics?
All options will continue to be on the table as it relates to our efforts to push back legislatively and legally in Texas as it relates to this illegal, unconstitutional, and egregious effort to rig the elections and gerrymander the maps in Texas. With respect to what happens in other states, I think that I'll let Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor Hochul, and others continue to speak for themselves on this issue. Stay tuned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hakeem.